Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be exploring Kashmir Shaivism.
Okay.
And this is a tradition that has a lot to say about consciousness.
Yeah, that does.
And to help guide us today, we have a couple of different sources.
Right.
We have Consciousness is Everything by Swami Shankarananda,
Yeah.
and also the Wikipedia entry on Kashmir Shaivism.
Excellent.
So to dive right in, Kashmir Shaivism says that everything is Chidi.
Right.
Everything is consciousness.
Yeah, that's a pretty radical idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we tend to think of consciousness as something that like humans have,
Right.
or maybe animals, but Kashmir Shaivism is saying the universe itself
Wow.
is a manifestation of this one divine consciousness.
So does that mean that like rocks
Yeah.
and trees are also conscious?
That's exactly what it's saying.
Wow.
Yeah, think of it this way. Like, the universe isn't separate from God. It is God
Okay.
expressing itself in all these countless forms.
Okay.
And, you know, one way they describe this is everything is speech,
Oh.
where God is this pure, radiant meaning.
So it's like this constant conversation, a constant flow of energy and meaning coming from the
You
source.
got it.
Wow.
And here's an analogy. Imagine Shiva
Okay.
sitting on Mount Kailash, just having a dialogue with himself.
Okay.
That dialogue
Yeah.
becomes the universe.
So where do we fit in as like individual people?
That is the question.
If it's Shiva just talking to himself.
Right. So that leads us to this concept of tattvas,
Okay.
which are the 36 levels of creation in Kashmir Shaivism.
Okay.
So you can imagine like this cascade starting from the purest, most unified consciousness, which is Shiva,
Okay.
and then kind of descending down through all these stages until we get to the material world that we experience.
So like how water can be ice or liquid or steam.
Exactly.
Just different forms of the same thing.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
Yeah, and things get really interesting around tattvas 12 and 13,
Okay.
because this is where we have what's described as the fall from Shiva to Jiva,
And Jiva is...
which is the individual soul.
Okay, yeah. So this is where we forget
Right.
that we're all one.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah. And the book describes this as Shiva conceiving a universe of rocks and sand
Okay.
and then becoming separated from it.
Okay.
So suddenly, instead of experiencing this unity, there's this sense of isolation.
Like being lost in a crowd, surrounded by people, but you feel completely alone.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's in this sense of separation that the real journey begins.
Okay.
Right. So the individual soul, also known as Purusha,
Okay.
gets wrapped up in this illusion of being separate and forgets its inherent connection to the divine,
Okay.
becomes limited,
Okay.
and starts identifying with its body and mind.
So are we basically divine beings playing a cosmic game of hide and seek?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we've forgotten who we really are,
Yeah.
and now we have to find our way back home.
Okay, so how do we start finding our way back?
Well, first we need to understand what's keeping us lost in this maze
Okay.
of separateness. Okay, in Kashmir Shaivism describes these obstacles as kanchukas, or sheaths.
Sheaths.
Yeah, they kind of cloud our perception and limit our experience.
What are these sheaths made of?
So there are 5 main ones, and they're not made of any physical material,
Okay.
but rather they represent different layers of limitation.
Okay.
So one of these kanchukas is kala, which represents time.
Yeah, I can see how time limits us
Right.
because we're always stuck between the past and the future.
Exactly.
Never fully in the now.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And so that's just one of the ways we get caught in this illusion of being separate.
Okay.
Another kanchuka is avidya, which means limited knowledge.
So it's not just about like not knowing stuff.
Right.
It's about having a distorted understanding of reality.
Precisely.
Okay.
Yeah. How often do we cling to beliefs or ideas
Oh, all the time.
that limit our potential or prevent us from seeing the bigger picture?
Yes, constantly.
Yeah. So we've got time, we've got knowledge.
Right.
What else? Well, we've got raga, which is attachment,
Okay.
and it really ties into those limiting beliefs.
Okay.
Right? So we become attached to our desires, our identities, and our perceptions.
Okay.
And this creates a very strong sense of I, me, and mine
Right.
that keeps us feeling separate.
It's like we build a wall around ourselves with
Yeah.
our attachments, and it blocks out any possibility of connection.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where Maya comes in.
Okay.
This kanchuka represents illusion.
Okay.
So this mistaken belief that the separate self is real and permanent,
Right.
like we're caught in a dream,
Okay.
mistaking these fleeting images for something solid
Right.
and lasting.
Okay, so it sounds like we're trapped.
It might seem that way, but
Yeah.
remember,
Yeah.
Kashmir Shaivism doesn't just diagnose the problem.
Okay.
It offers us a path to freedom.
Okay.
And understanding these Kanchukas is the first step.
Okay, so we've got these sheaths clouding our true nature. What happens next?
Okay, so the Kanchukas give rise to the three malas.
Okay.
You can think of these as impurities
Okay.
or knots that bind us to suffering.
So if the Kanchukas are the walls of our prison, the malas are the chains.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's focus on one of these malas just to kind of illustrate
Okay.
how they operate.
Okay.
So take karma mala, for example.
Okay.
This refers to the limitations of action.
What does it mean to be limited by our actions?
Well, in Kashmir Shaivism, karma isn't just about, actions and their consequences
Okay.
in a linear way.
Right.
It's about the patterns that we create through our thoughts, words, and deeds.
Okay.
And these patterns become ingrained habits
Okay.
that limit our choices and keep us stuck in these repetitive cycles.
Like when you keep making the same mistake even though you know better?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the power of karma mala.
Right.
It keeps us bound to the past, limiting our ability to really experience the fullness of the present moment
Right.
and create a more liberated future.
Wow. Okay, so we've got the Kanchukas and the malas.
Right.
Is there any?
There is.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Remember that story about Shiva and the rocks and sand?
Yes.
Okay, well, Kashmir Shaivism teaches that even though we've fallen into this state of separation,
Yeah.
the divine spark within us
Okay.
is never truly extinguished.
So there's still potential there.
Always.
Okay.
And that potential is what Kashmir Shaivism is seeking to ignite.
Okay.
So it's not about seeking something outside of ourselves.
Okay.
It's about recognizing what's already there.
Recognizing.
Yeah, buried beneath all these layers of limitation.
So remembering who we really are,
Exactly.
not becoming something new.
Exactly.
Okay, so can you give me a concrete example
Sure, yeah.
of how we can start to recognize our true nature?
So there's this great story about Ramdas and Kalyan Swami.
Okay.
And this story perfectly illustrates the balance between recognizing the divine in everything,
Okay.
but still using discernment in the world.
Okay.
So Kalyan Swami was taught to see God in everything. He was so focused on the idea that everything is cheaty that he almost gets trampled by an elephant.
Oh, wow.
So recognizing the divine in the elephant doesn't mean you should ignore its potential to cause harm.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a delicate balance.
Exactly.
Okay.
And his teacher, Ramdas, had to remind him that while everything is ultimately consciousness,
Yeah.
forms still matter.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's not about denying the reality of the world.
Yeah.
It's about seeing it through a different lens.
A lens that acknowledges that everything is connected.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this story highlights a key principle
Okay.
in Kashmir Shaivism. It's not enough to just intellectually understand that everything is consciousness.
Okay.
We need to embody that understanding,
Right.
integrate it into our lives,
Okay.
and act accordingly.
It's about being, not just knowing.
You got it.
Okay.
So it's about recognizing the dance of Shiva in every moment,
Okay.
in every interaction, even in those moments of challenge and difficulty.
So it's not about escaping the world, but changing our experience of it.
Exactly. And that transformation is what the Abhinavagupta,
Okay.
which is a key text in Kashmir Shaivism,
Okay.
calls a hero's journey.
A hero's journey.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Okay, so the text uses this analogy of a prince who's been kidnapped as a child
Okay.
and then raised as a commoner.
Wow.
He grows up completely unaware of his royal lineage.
So it's like we're living a lie, oblivious to who we really are.
Yes.
Okay.
And just like this prince might encounter a clue that triggers his memory,
Right.
we too might experience something
Yeah.
that awakens us to our true nature.
It could be a teaching or
A teaching, a
Oh,
practice,
just a practice.
an encounter with a wise person, anything
Yeah.
that cracks open the shell of our limited perception.
It's like those aha moments where you suddenly see the world in a new light.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what the Pratyabhidharadhyam is all about.
Okay.
This recognition,
Okay.
or Pratyabhijayan,
Okay.
of our inherent divinity.
So it's not about acquiring something new. It's about removing the veils of ignorance
Exactly.
that are blocking the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a vital part of that journey is the role of the guru.
Okay. Yeah. The guru,
Yeah.
what exactly do they do in Kashmir Shaivism?
So the guru isn't just a teacher imparting knowledge.
Yeah, okay.
They're seen as a conduit for grace.
Okay.
Someone who can awaken the disciple to their true nature through something called Shaktipat.
Okay, can you remind me what Shaktipat is?
Sure.
Please.
So it's basically the transmission of spiritual energy from the
Okay.
guru to the disciple.
So it's like a jolt to the system that wakes you up.
Exactly. You can't learn it from a book.
Okay.
Right. Swami Shankaranda actually shares his experience of receiving Shaktipat from his guru,
Okay.
Swami Muktanda.
Okay.
And he describes it as a turning point in his journey.
Wow.
It's like the guru is like a homing device,
Okay.
guiding the seeker back to their true nature.
So the guru provides the spark,
Right.
but then the student has to do the work.
Exactly.
Okay. So what are some of those tools that the student uses?
Well, Kashmir Shaivism offers all these different techniques for cultivating awareness
Okay.
and deepening this connection to our true nature.
Okay.
And one of the most intriguing aspects is this idea of using language as a gateway.
Language.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can we use language to change our experience of reality?
Well, Kashmir Shaivism places a lot of emphasis on matrika,
Okay.
which is the sacred energy of language.
Okay.
And it sees language not just as a means of communication,
Okay.
but as a tool for transformation.
So words aren't just symbols, they're like...
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And mantras, for instance, are considered powerful tools for shifting consciousness.
Right, mantras are those sounds and phrases that you repeat during meditation, right?
Right, exactly.
How exactly do they work?
So the idea is that sound carries energy,
Okay.
right? And specific sounds can create specific vibrations within us.
Okay.
In Kashmir Shaivism, mantras are seen as invocations,
Okay.
so ways of aligning ourselves with the energy of the divine.
So it's not about understanding the meaning of the words, but feeling the energy.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah. So take the mantra Om Namah Shivaya,
Okay.
for instance.
Okay.
It's considered a direct invocation of Shiva,
Okay.
the supreme consciousness.
So by chanting this mantra,
Yeah,
you're aligning yourself with Shiva.
exactly, yeah.
It's like tuning yourself to that frequency.
You got it, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
The vibrations of that mantra create this resonance within us
Okay.
that helps awaken our own divine potential.
Okay.
And the beauty of it is, it doesn't require any special skill
Okay.
or knowledge.
Yeah.
Anyone can chant
Right.
and experience this transformative power.
Wow. So we've got this power within us accessible through sound.
Yeah.
What other techniques does Kashmir Shaivism offer?
Well, meditation is a key practice,
Okay.
but it's not just about emptying the mind. It's about cultivating a state of awareness
Right.
that's present in every moment.
Right. So it's not about escaping the world.
Exactly.
It's about bringing that mindfulness to everything.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah. And the text describes some specific techniques
Like what?
for cultivating this awareness.
Yeah, like what?
So one powerful technique is meditation on thought-free awareness.
Okay.
So letting go of all thoughts
Okay.
and simply resting in that spaciousness
Okay.
of pure consciousness.
That sounds incredibly challenging
It can be.
and also very peaceful.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
And we also have the Hamsa mantra,
okay.
which involves focusing on the subtle sound of the breath.
So you're using the breath as a mantra.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. What
And
else?
another powerful technique is focusing on the space between breaths.
The space between breaths. Okay.
Yeah, so it's about noticing that subtle pause between the in-breath and the out-breath.
Okay.
And that's where the mind can naturally settle into a state of quietude.
Okay.
It's a place of stillness and potential, a gateway to deeper awareness.
Okay. Are there any other techniques?
There's one more that's described, thinking it through meditation.
Thinking it through.
Yeah.
I thought meditation was supposed to be about quieting the mind.
Yeah, well, in this technique, you actually use the power of thought
Okay.
to explore the nature of consciousness.
So you're using the mind as a tool for self-discovery.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about questioning your assumptions,
Okay.
dismantling limiting beliefs,
Okay.
and ultimately arriving at a direct experience of your true nature.
Using our intellect to deconstruct the illusions that keep us separate.
Exactly.
Okay.
And by doing so, you start to experience reality in this more expansive
yeah.
and liberated way.
This is all so mind-blowing.
It is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion and
Yeah.
revealing deeper and deeper truths.
And the deeper you go, the more you realize that ultimately there's only one reality,
Right.
and that's consciousness.
And that's what makes Kashmir Shaivism so compelling.
Yeah,
It's not just a philosophy, it's a path to a direct experience.
precisely.
So I can't wait to explore more of these practices and really delve deeper into these tattvas.
Yeah, that's a great place to pick up next time.
Awesome.
We can dive deeper into those and see how they offer a map
Yeah.
for understanding this unfolding of consciousness
Yeah.
from that divine source to our individual experience.
Excellent. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then.
Okay, so we left off talking about the tattvas,
Right.
which are the 36 levels of creation.
Right.
And I'm ready to dive deeper into those.
Yeah.
But I know that we talked about 12 and 13.
Right.
And those are the ones that describe the fall from Shiva to Jiva.
Exactly.
What happens in the ones that come after that?
Okay, so after the emergence of that individual soul,
Okay.
or the Purusha,
Okay.
the 5 sheaths that we talked about.
Right.
Now-
Kala, Avidya, Raga, and Maya.
Exactly. Those start to take hold.
Okay.
And they further obscure
Right.
the true nature of that soul.
Okay. And then those lead to the 3 malas, the Karma mala, the Maya mala, and the Anava mala.
Exactly. Yeah. As those malas tighten their grip,
Okay.
the soul continues its descent down that tattva ladder
Okay.
into the realm of the senses, into the material world.
So even in this fallen state,
Right.
the divine spark is
Yes.
still there.
Is never extinguished.
Okay.
And that's what's so hopeful about Kashmir Shaivism.
Yeah.
It doesn't sugarcoat the reality of suffering,
Right.
but it reminds us that we're not doomed
Okay.
to stay stuck.
Right.
It points to a way out.
Okay. And the 3 upayas, the Anavapaya, Shaktapaya, and Shambhavapaya,
Yes,
those are the paths.
exactly.
Yeah.
Each upaya offers a different approach to dissolving those malas
Okay.
and unveiling our inherent divinity.
It's like 3 trails leading to the same summit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you can take any path you want.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the Pratyabhijnanidayam frames this journey as a hero's journey.
Right.
I love that idea. Can you unpack that a little bit more?
Sure. So the text uses this analogy of a prince
Okay.
who's been kidnapped as a child and raised as a commoner.
Wow. Yeah. So like we've been separated from our true origins.
Exactly. He grows up with no memory of his true identity,
Okay.
just like we grow up often unaware
Okay.
of our divine nature.
Right. Right.
And then something happens
Yeah.
that triggers his memory.
He overhears a conversation or something.
Exactly. Yeah. In the story, he overhears someone mentioning his true identity.
Okay.
And it sparks this recognition within him.
Okay. So like on the spiritual path,
Right.
it might be a teaching or a practice
Yeah,
that awakens us to our true nature.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It's anything that kind of shakes us awake.
Right.
And we start to question everything
Okay.
that we thought we knew about ourselves.
So that questioning is the beginning of the hero's journey.
Exactly right. Remember, the Pratyabhijnanidayam is all about this recognition,
Okay.
or Pratyabhijay,
Okay.
of our inherent divinity.
Okay, not about becoming something new,
Right.
but remembering.
Exactly. Yeah. And navigating this journey can be challenging.
Right.
Which is why the text emphasizes this crucial role
Okay.
of the guru.
The guru. Yeah, so we talked about them earlier, but
Yeah.
why are they so essential?
So the guru isn't just a teacher.
Okay.
They're like a catalyst for transformation.
Okay.
They can transmit Shaktipat,
Okay.
that spiritual energy
Okay.
that awakens the disciple to their true nature.
So they're not just sharing information.
Right.
They're initiating
Exactly.
an energetic shift.
Exactly. They plant a seed of recognition
Okay.
that can then be nurtured through practice
Yeah.
and self-inquiry.
So it's like they give you a glimpse of the summit,
Right.
but you still have to climb the mountain.
You still got to do the work.
Okay.
Yeah, they point you in the right direction.
Right.
They give you the tools, but the actual journey is up to you.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those tools.
Right.
You mentioned earlier using language as a gateway to consciousness.
Yes.
I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay, so Kashmir Shaivism recognizes the power of matrika,
Okay.
this sacred energy of language.
Okay.
And it sees language not just as a means of communication,
Okay.
but as a tool for
Uh-huh.
transformation.
So words aren't just symbols, they're
Yes.
also like vibrations.
Exactly. They carry an energetic vibration that can affect our consciousness.
Okay.
And mantras, in particular,
Okay.
are seen as powerful ways
Yeah.
to harness this energy.
Can you give me an example of a mantra and how it works?
Sure. So the most well-known mantra in Kashmir Shaivism is Om Namah Shivaya,
Okay.
and it's considered a direct invocation of Shiva,
Okay.
the supreme consciousness.
Okay.
Right? It's not just a phrase.
Okay.
It's a vibrational portal.
So by chanting that,
Yeah.
you're attuning yourself to Shiva?
Exactly. You're dialing the cosmic phone number
Right.
and connecting directly to the source.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the vibrations of the mantra
Yeah.
create this resonance within us
Right.
that helps awaken our own divine potential.
So it's not about understanding the meaning so much as feeling the energy.
Yeah. The beauty of mantras is they work on a level beyond the intellect.
Okay.
Anyone can chant them
Okay.
and experience that transformative power.
So we have this power within us
Yes.
accessible through chanting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is. Yeah.
What other practices?
So meditation
Okay.
is another key practice.
Oh,
And remember, in Kashmir Shaivism,
yeah.
it's not about emptying the mind or escaping from the world.
Right. It's about awareness.
It's about cultivating that state of awareness
Okay.
that permeates all of our experiences.
So it's about changing our relationship to our thoughts.
Exactly.
Instead of being controlled by them.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we are not our thoughts, but the awareness that's witnessing those thoughts.
So like, we're not the movie, we're the observer.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's a perfect analogy.
Okay.
Right. And that's a key insight in Kashmir Shaivism.
Okay.
We're not our thoughts.
Okay.
We're the consciousness that experiences them.
Okay. So we have a choice
Yes.
about how we respond to our thoughts.
Exactly, yeah. And the text actually describes a few specific techniques
Okay.
for cultivating this awareness.
Like focusing on the space between the breaths.
Yes, focusing on the space between breaths is a great one.
Right.
It's about noticing that subtle pause between the in-breath and the out-breath,
Okay.
where the mind naturally settles
Right.
into that state of quietude.
Okay.
It's a very simple but powerful technique for accessing that place of stillness
Right.
and presence.
And the Hamsa mantra.
Yes, the Hamsa mantra.
Remind me how that one works.
Okay, so as you breathe in,
Okay.
you mentally repeat the sound ham,
Okay.
and as you breathe out,
Okay.
you repeat the sound sa. Right. So you're syncing the sound with the breath.
Using the breath as a mantra.
Exactly.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful practice.
Okay, so, we've been talking about Shaktipat,
Right.
but what about our own energy?
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Kashmir Shaivism views the universe as being permeated with Shakti,
Okay.
this divine energy
Okay,
that
thanks.
animates all of creation.
So it's like this web of energy.
Exactly. It's the invisible force that connects everything.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And we each have our own Shakti,
Okay.
our own life force energy
Okay.
that flows through us.
So we're all connected to this
Yes.
larger energy field.
Exactly. Yeah. And practices like yoga and meditation
Okay.
can help us to cultivate and channel that Shakti
Okay.
in a way that supports our well-being.
Now, you mentioned earlier that Kashmir Shaivism views the body as a sacred vessel.
Yes.
And I'm still wrapping my head around that because it seems like it contradicts the idea of transcending the physical world.
Right. That's a great point.
Right.
Yeah. So it might seem contradictory,
Yeah.
but Kashmir Shaivism doesn't see the body as something separate from or opposed to the spiritual path.
Okay.
Instead, it views the body as a temple of the divine,
Okay.
a vehicle for experiencing higher consciousness.
So we can use the body as a tool
Exactly.
for spiritual growth.
Yeah. The body is seen as sacred,
Okay.
right? A microcosm of the universe,
Okay.
a sacred vessel for experiencing higher consciousness.
So how do we bridge the gap between these concepts
Right.
and everyday life?
That is the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
And that's what makes Kashmir Shaivism so compelling.
Okay.
It's not just an intellectual exercise.
Right.
It offers a path to living a more awakened and fulfilling life.
Okay. So how do we make that shift
Yeah.
from theory to practice?
Well, it all starts with awareness.
Okay.
The more aware we become of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors,
Right.
the more choices we have about how we respond to life's challenges.
So instead of reacting automatically,
Right.
we can choose how we respond.
Exactly. It's about creating that space between stimulus and reaction.
Okay.
And that awareness can extend to all areas of our lives.
Right.
Our relationships, our work, our creativity,
And our
and spiritual practices.
Okay. So can you give me an example
Yeah.
of how we might apply this
Yeah.
in a difficult situation?
Okay, so let's say you're feeling stressed
Okay.
or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Instead of getting caught up in the drama,
Okay.
you can pause
Right.
and simply observe your thoughts and emotions.
We'll just notice them.
Exactly, without judgment.
Right. Okay.
Right. And in that space,
Yeah.
in that pause,
Yeah.
we can start to see things more clearly
Right.
and choose a more skillful response.
Okay.
Maybe we engage in a calming practice like meditation
Okay.
or breath work,
Okay.
or maybe we simply shift our perspective
Okay.
on the situation.
So we're meeting it with awareness
Exactly.
instead of denial.
Exactly. And that awareness empowers us.
Okay.
It reminds us that we have more agency
Right.
than we often realize.
So we're reclaiming our power.
Yes.
Okay. And the Pratyabhinardayam mentions dharma,
Right.
which is right action.
Right.
How does that fit into this?
So dharma in Kashmir Shaivism is about aligning our actions with our true nature.
Okay.
So living in a way that reflects our understanding of oneness.
Right. So it's not about following rules. It's
Right.
about acting from a place of awareness.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our actions have consequences.
Yeah.
Not just for ourselves,
Right.
but for the entire web of life.
So it's like going back to that image of Shiva's dance.
Right.
We're all part of this dance.
Right.
And our actions are like the steps
Exactly.
that either create harmony or disrupt it.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness
Right.
and acting in a way
Right.
that supports the well-being of all,
Okay.
not just ourselves.
Yeah. Kashmir Shaivism offers a roadmap
Yes, it does.
to a better life.
To a more awakened and fulfilling life.
Right. One that's aligned with our true nature.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
It is, yeah.
So this has been really eye-opening. I'm really inspired to explore these teachings further.
Yeah.
But before we move on,
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts on, the significance of Kashmir Shaivism in the world today.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think the message of interconnectedness
Right.
and awakening
Yeah.
is more relevant now than ever before.
Yeah, it's like a beacon of hope
Yeah,
in a world that often feels dark and
absolutely.
chaotic.
Yeah, so many people are searching for
Yeah.
meaning and purpose.
Right.
And I think Kashmir Shaivism
Yeah.
offers this profound understanding of our place in the cosmos and the potential
Yeah.
we each have to contribute to the healing
Right.
and transformation of
Yeah.
ourselves and the world.
This has been so enlightening.
I'm glad to hear that.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I think just this. If everything is consciousness,
Yeah.
like Kashmir Shaivism asserts,
Yeah.
how does that change how you interact with the world?
Wow.
How might it shift your perceptions,
Yeah.
your actions, your relationships?
Yeah.
It's a question worth pondering.
That is a powerful question. Well, we'll leave you to contemplate that.
Absolutely.
And join us next time for another deep dive into the realms of knowledge.
See you then.
Okay, so we're back, and we've been talking about all these mind-blowing concepts in Kashmir Shaivism.
You did a lot, yeah.
Like how everything is consciousness, and
Yeah.
we're all part of this divine dance.
Yeah, the dance of Shiva.
Right, but what I really appreciate about Kashmir Shaivism is that it's not just a bunch of theories.
It's not.
It's a path to transformation.
Exactly. Yeah, it gives us practical tools.
Right, and I'd love to explore some of those a little deeper.
Sure.
We talked about meditation and mantra, but I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, there's a whole treasure chest of practices.
Right, so before we get to that, you were talking about how meditation isn't about escaping the world or quieting the mind.
Right, it's not about emptying the mind. It's about cultivating awareness.
Right, and bringing that mindfulness to everything.
Exactly. Yeah, and the text we're looking at describes some techniques for cultivating that.
Like what? Remind me, please.
Okay, so one we talked about was focusing on the space between breaths.
Right, that pause between the inhale and exhale.
Exactly, where the mind can settle.
That subtle pause.
Yeah, it's a simple technique, but it's really powerful for accessing stillness and presence.
Yeah, and it seems pretty accessible.
It is, yeah.
What else?
Another one is meditation on thought-free awareness.
Thought-free awareness, that sounds really hard.
It can be challenging, yeah.
Like, how do you not think?
Well, it's about letting go of all thoughts
Okay.
and just resting in the spaciousness of pure consciousness.
So it's about accessing that part of us that's beyond the mind.
Exactly, yeah, that pure awareness that's always there, even when our minds are busy.
It's like diving deep into the ocean beneath the waves.
Yeah, I like that.
So we're not distracted by all the surface stuff.
Yeah, and as we practice this, we start to realize that our true nature isn't our thoughts.
Right.
It's the awareness that's witnessing those thoughts.
Okay, so we're not the content, we're like the container.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a key insight.
Okay.
We have the power to choose how we relate to our inner world.
It's like choosing whether to get caught up in the drama of a movie
Right.
or just watch it unfold.
Exactly. We're not the movie, we're the observer.
Okay, and you mentioned the Hamsa mantra.
Right.
How does that work again?
So it's about syncing the sound with the breath.
Okay.
As you breathe in, you mentally repeat ham,
Okay.
and as you breathe out, sa.
Okay, so we're writing the breath with these sounds.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and the repetition of those sounds can help to still the mind
Right.
and bring us to a state of peace.
It's a really nice way to anchor yourself in the present moment.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about meditation and mantra, but what about energy?
Right, well, remember we talked about how Kashmir Shaivism sees the universe as permeated with Shakti.
Right, the divine energy.
Exactly, that life force that flows through everything.
Like a web that connects us all.
Precisely.
Okay.
And we each have our own Shakti.
Our own energy.
Yeah, our own life force energy flowing through us.
So we're all part of this larger energy field.
Exactly, and practices like yoga and meditation can help us to work with that energy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, something I'm still trying to understand.
Yeah.
You talked about the body as a sacred vessel,
Right.
but I thought we were trying to transcend the physical.
Well, a lot of spiritual traditions emphasize transcendence, but Kashmir Shaivism's a little different.
Okay.
It really embraces embodiment.
Okay.
It sees the body not as an obstacle,
Right.
but as a vehicle for enlightenment.
So we use the body to grow spiritually.
Exactly, yeah. It's seen as a temple of the divine,
Okay.
a microcosm of the universe.
Okay.
It's a sacred vessel for experiencing higher consciousness.
So we honor the body and its wisdom
Exactly.
instead of trying to deny it.
Yeah, practices like Hatha Yoga are seen as ways of purifying and energizing the body
Okay.
to make it a more receptive vessel for that Shakti.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, as we cultivate that connection with our bodies, we can start to experience the divine within them.
So Kashmir Shaivism is really offering a holistic path.
It is, yeah.
It's about recognizing that everything is connected.
Exactly.
Mind, body, spirit.
It's about integrating all those aspects of ourselves.
And ultimately, it's a journey of awakening.
It is, yeah.
It's about remembering who we truly are.
Exactly.
And recognizing that we are the divine.
Beautifully said, yeah.
This has been such an incredible deep dive.
It's been
I
fun.
feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
There's so much more to explore.
Right, but it's given me a lot to think about.
I'm glad to hear that.
And a lot to practice.
Yeah, and remember, this is just the beginning of the journey.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise.
It's been my pleasure.
And thank you, everyone, for listening to this deep dive
Absolutely.
into Kashmir Shaivism. Until next time, may your journey be filled with grace and wonder.